You're listening to The Bible Guys, a podcast where a couple of friends talk about the Bible in fun and practical ways.
Good morning, good morning.
Wow.
We talk all night through. Good morning to you.
Wow.
That's it.
Amazing. Well, we have to hurry today because you got to go work out.
What? You're going to say
Don't you?
that
Yeah,
on
don't
TV?
you? Yeah, well,
So
don't we have to hurry?
Okay, well, you at least explain it.
We have to hurry.
Now that you brought it up.
Because you're going to go work out because you're buff.
First of all,
You're getting so ripped.
that is not even close to being true.
Is that it?
I work out with physical therapy for old people.
Yeah.
My spine is hurting.
What is your trainer? What is her specialty?
Old people.
Geriatric physical
that's not
therapy.
true at all. That's what you say. Yeah. That's not true at all.
That is her specialty.
No, you know what though? I did have some like bulging disc and everything, and come to find out, my trainer is somebody who was a physical therapist.
Yeah.
Which is such a rare
I
combination.
know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So what she does is she's able to actually like help me both in physical therapy and also give me exercises that are the perfect ones.
Yeah. So Heritage Church, the church we work at, we also have a gym.
Yes.
A lot of people don't know that, right?
Yes.
But
HFP.
100 people or so really engage with the gym, and we have some really great trainers.
Yes.
And Mandy is your trainer.
That's right.
And she is an expert in old people and in physical therapy.
That's not true.
Those two things. If you need a gentle trainer, if you want to get fit, you want to go with one of the other guys. But if you want somebody to be gentle with you and tell you you're doing a good job,
it.
Hey, pretty soon you're gonna start talking about prunes. I'm telling you.
Hey, by the way.
Fiber. Man, I got so much fiber yesterday.
Usually, whenever you see me just wearing like a T-shirt, it's because I'm recording on a day that right afterwards I go and have HFP.
So here we are. We got to hustle. That's what I'm saying.
No, the clock is the clock.
Yeah, well,
bro.
I was thinking maybe we could warm you up, get you work you into a good sweat before you go to the workout.
The clock is the clock.
Then you don't have to stretch. So, hey, Chris.
Yes.
Tomorrow, September 28th.
Yes.
Is National Chris Day.
Which I did not know, by the way.
Well, hey, I looked it up. By the way, I looked up National Chris Day.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did, because I was like, come on. Are you flipping serious? And it says, mark your calendars, because September 28th is National Chris Day, a day dedicated to celebrating all those with the name Chris.
Hey,
it originated in 2008.
I wonder if there's a National Jeff Day. I'm sure there is.
I doubt it. So here's some ways. They even give ways to celebrate National Chris Day. One, host a Chris-themed party.
Oh, that'd be great.
Right? Invite all your friends named Chris to a party in their honor.
I got to say this. So I'm Chris. My daughter, Sarah, married Brandon, but his legal name is Christopher Brandon Drew. So she married a Chris.
Yeah.
And then my daughter is almost engaged, right? They're talking about engagement. And his name is also Chris. It's Christos is his real name. They call him Chris. So I'm Chris. He's Chris.
Yeah.
And he's
so
Chris.
3 Chris's. You guys could have a Chris-themed party.
We could do it by ourselves.
You could send handwritten notes to all the Chris's you know.
Yes.
Right? Thanking them for being a part of your life and celebrating their name. You could create a Chris-themed playlist.
Oh, my goodness.
Chris Stapleton, right?
Oh,
Chris Brown, whatever. You could attend a Chris-themed event. Maybe find a Chris-named comedian. You could volunteer at a charity with Chris in a name.
Should I eat at Ruth Chris's?
I think you should. Yeah. And here's why we love National Chris Day. It's a day to celebrate our friends and family members named Chris. That's one. There's so many other famous and influential people named Chris. You got Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Martin, Chris Stapleton. I mean, just you go on and on. Lots of famous Chris's. And then Chris is a popular and timeless name, and we just want to celebrate the fact that it has popularity, enduring popularity and charm.
Wow.
Is what it says.
So here, the segment that Desiree wrote is, Chris, because since tomorrow is all about you, if you could have the perfect day, what would it look like?
Yes.
And so I thought about this.
So that's what we want to know.
So here's what I thought.
More than anything, we want to know.
So the perfect day would be get up very early from my castle in Orlando that I've rented out as an Airbnb.
Okay.
And then to go to all 4 Disney parks with a Disney park hop passer, or you know what I mean? Sorry, hopper pass.
In one day?
You never done that?
Yeah, no.
Oh yeah, it's great.
I've only been to Disney twice.
Okay.
And I've only been to the main theme park.
Okay. Just stop talking.
Okay, go ahead.
Let the big boys talk about this. So anyway, so if you buy a park hopper pass, you can spend a couple hours in one and then take the ferry over or take the bus or whatever.
Okay.
And then at each Disney park, major theme park, because there's 4 of them, I would choose my 4 celebrities to hang out with my family. So in other words, this is my favorite celebrity, and he would meet me at the theme park, and we'd hang out for maybe 3 hours, 4 hours.
Hemsworth. Chris.
Yeah. Well, no, not a. Maybe perhaps. Why not?
Yeah.
Because but it didn't say a Chris-themed day. It just said, what is your perfect day? Yeah, okay. So I wouldn't be limited to the Chris's.
No, you're right.
I would just say, whoever I want to hang out with, we would just choose one, and then they would just join us, and we would just hang out.
Okay.
And I don't know who those 4 celebrities would be. I'd have to seriously think about it.
I think all of your listeners know who those celebrities would be.
No, they wouldn't. No, they do not. And by the way, you'd be wrong. You'd be wrong. They would not make my top. But I would think long and hard, and I would choose 4 celebrities, and they would hang out with my whole family.
And that's your day.
Well, I mean, yeah, and eat well.
And eat well.
Right? So in other words, like the worst thing about Disney is they have terrible food, but they do have like 1 or 2 restaurants, like the Be Our Guest restaurant, that is like fine dining. So I would say every meal would have to be in a fine dining type restaurant.
That sounds
you said
really
perfect.
Something.
You said
really
perfect.
Something. That's your perfect day.
Well, I mean, it's one of them.
Okay. Well, all right.
If I'm talking about
you're
just
a well of incredible information and ideas.
Yes.
I don't know. So we just keep peeling back the onion. We keep peeling back layers of the onion, discovering who you really are. Truth
be told, I don't think too many other people would agree with that day.
No, I wouldn't.
Yes, I know you wouldn't.
This sounds like hell to me. like I've died and I've been sent to purgatory.
But the celebrity part you'd like.
No, I wouldn't.
Why?
I don't talk to celebrities when I see them.
Oh, well, yeah, but neither do I because you probably don't get the chance to.
I just don't do it.
If you had a real down-to-earth one...
I sat right next to a celebrity one time at a restaurant he owned, and I didn't say boo. Literally right next to him.
First of all, if you said boo, you get arrested, probably.
Yeah. It was crazy. Yeah, I just don't do it.
Hey, I've talked to plenty of celebrities, probably a couple dozen.
Oh, look at me. I hang out with celebrities.
No, I just find reason to be near them. And almost everyone was completely nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the worst one was Kid Rock in terms of being rude. Sorry about that, Kid Rock.
Oops.
I just said that out loud.
Yes, you did.
I didn't.
Now he's gunning for you.
I shouldn't have
He's going to send his posse to come and get you.
And probably one of the nicest ones was, she's not quite a celebrity, but I would say Amy Grant.
Okay.
Sat right next to Amy Grant, talked to her like
celebrity
30 minutes.
At Christmas time.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, Chris.
Yeah.
What a day. There you go. Well, hey, talking about celebrities, King David.
Yep, there you go. The good
wrote about how much he loved God.
Way to go, buddy. Way to be clever.
So David at this point is the king of Judah. Yep. We already established that, and he's trying to figure out how to establish his kingdom. There's some struggles. And we've already established the fact that while he was a great warrior and a great king and leader, he also was an artist, and he had this other side. And there's something to celebrate about being a Renaissance kind of a person, where you have a breadth to you, not just a one trick pony, but have some real skill and depth. And so he's writing out his prayers and putting them to songs. And the theme behind Psalm chapter 24 is that everything belongs to God, right? And so here's what he says. He says, "The earth is the Lord's and everything in it. The world and all its people belong to him, for he laid the earth's foundation on the seas and built it on the ocean depths. Who may climb the mountain of the Lord? Who may stand in his holy place? Only those whose hands and hearts are pure, who do not worship idols and never tell lies. They will receive the Lord's blessing and have a right relationship with God, their Savior. Such people may seek you and worship in your presence, O God of Jacob. Open up, ancient gates, open up, ancient doors, and let the King of glory enter. Who is the King of glory? The Lord, strong and mighty, the Lord, invincible in battle. Open up, ancient gates, open up, ancient doors, and let the King of glory enter. Who is the King of glory? The Lord of heaven's armies. He is the King of glory."
And that reminds me of a worship song that was quite popular.
Yes, the King of glory. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so it is a great thing, I think, to spend time proclaiming God's greatness.
Yeah.
Declaring God's greatness. And that is exactly what this psalm does. In fact, I don't know if you read this already, because I was reading ahead on some of these notes, but one of the subtitles says, "Everything belongs to God, the glorious eternal King. Let us worship him and welcome his glorious reign."
Right.
And did you read that already?
I didn't read it out loud.
Okay. So
I read it quietly to myself.
You know what this reminds me of, which is very relevant for our lives. And that is, I one time heard a pastor teach on the Lord's Prayer. And we did a series that was sort of based on that. Okay. Right, where we sort of walked through the Lord's Prayer at Heritage. Yes. Remember? Mm-hmm. And
I was there.
Yes, you were there. You taught at it, actually. Mm-hmm. But basically, a lot of people. I grew up learning how to recite the Lord's Prayer. The Catholics would say they call it Our Father, right? Where and sometimes you would get assigned, to say a certain number of Our Fathers. Depending on your penance and everything else, you go in and say, anyway, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. The point is that people have grown up being taught to recite it and then also to use it as a formulated prayer. And by the way, I think that's a good thing. I think reciting prayers is a good thing. Quoting Psalms, which were prayers, is a good thing. So there's nothing wrong with that. However, on the flip side of that coin, I do not think that the Lord's Prayer was given to us as something to memorize and recite always as our main prayer. Do you believe that as well?
Yes, I don't believe that he gave it to us as our main prayer, but as a model.
So as a model. So what would a model mean?
He would establish these are the typical elements that would be in an effective prayer.
Right.
Yeah.
And so anyway, all of that to say would be the very first line in that prayer is declaring God's greatness.
Right.
So he says, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. And a more modern version would say, great is your name. And that's what it means. And so, and here's the part that I'm trying to get at when thinking about Psalm 24, and which is all about declaring God's majesty and his rule, is Jesus himself, when he taught us to pray, the very first thing that he suggested that we do is declaring God's greatness. Yeah. Our Father who art in heaven, great is your name. And one of the things that I heard was, I think perhaps one of the reasons why he did that is to remind us just who it is we're praying to. Yeah. Because most of the time, what do? We say, dear God, okay, let me get right to my needs, wants, and wishes, right? And what he's saying is like, hey, listen, I know you have needs and wants and wishes, but before you get to that, spend just a little bit of time in declaring and recognizing just who it is you're praying to. Because when you posture your heart and say, God, you are God and I am not, then maybe by the time you get to your needs and wants and wishes, you'll have a lot less anxiety over them. Yeah. Maybe you'll have a lot more confidence in believing that God can take care of these things, or trusting that God will do what he's going to do and it's going to be best regardless of how he answers. So just spend time. And the answer is, well, how long should I spend there? Yeah, because Jesus's prayer, the Our Father, only takes 30 seconds to pray, right? Like you could run through the Our Father in 30 seconds or less, right? So how long should I pray? Does that mean my prayers should only be 30 seconds? And honestly, my answer has always been as long as it takes. Like as long as it takes for your heart to get there. Oh Lord, hallowed be your name. Like as long as it takes for your heart to wrestle and get there in your posture to take rest and refuge in the fact that God's in control, that he's great, that you're going to the King of the universe with your needs, wants, and wishes, declaring his greatness like Psalm 24 is doing, declaring his majesty and just announcing that he is God. There's a lot of comfort in that. And it's also comforting knowing that we should always start our prayers with things like this.
Yeah. I think that's really powerful. The remembering that these were songs sung at the temple. It's interesting. There's two pieces to this song. There's the first part, just declaring that God is the ruler over everything, and then there's this interlude, and then there's open up ancient gates, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the cool things, I don't know if you saw this, but in the Notes to Life Application Study Bible, it says this psalm, often set to music, was probably used in corporate worship. It may have been reenacted many times at the temple. The people outside would call out to the temple gates to open up and let the King of Glory in. From inside, the priests or another group would ask, who is the King of Glory? Outside, the people would respond in unison, the Lord, strong and mighty, the Lord invincible in battle, proclaiming his great power and strength. And the exchange would then be repeated. That's what happens. It's repeated twice there. And then it says, and the temple gates would swing open, symbolizing the people's desire to have God's presence among them. And this would have been a great, important lesson for the children who were participating, right? So this was a common thing within tradition that the people would be outside calling. And the tradition is that this was probably the first worship song of the week in the temple, by the way. So it's kind of neat that this would be a thing. They would call out, who's the Lord strong and mighty, right? They go back and forth. So I love that this is corporate worship, corporate singing. And the Bible talks a lot about worship. So I spent 15 years as a worship leader. I have a degree in music, particularly focused on worship. And the Bible says that we're supposed to worship him with our songs. We're supposed to sing new songs to the Lord. We're supposed to use all the instruments and all the voices, all those things. And God delights in our individual worship. He delights in our corporate group worship. It's one of the great benefits of the gathered church. It's one of the things that you can't do privately is worship in a large group, right? So that's there. But then he says to worship him in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs. There are worship songs, there are praise songs, there are testimony songs, right? And so this one, the earth is the Lord's and everything, this is a worship song. God, you're big. You're God and I'm not. That's a worship song.
Right.
Most of the songs we sing lately on Sunday mornings, it seems like in a lot of churches, are more praise songs. God, you're just really good, right? You're the way maker. You're the one who solves my problems. You're the one who takes care of me when I was afraid. I didn't know where to go. You're the one. Those are praise songs, right? So those are those. So if you're thinking psalms are thought of as prayers, typically worship. Hymns oftentimes are praise. They're the ones that are saying, praise God from whom all blessings flow, kind of a song, right? God, you are the one that provides for me. And then spiritual songs are usually testimony kind of songs. I was lost and you found me. I didn't know where to turn and you showed me the way. I was broken and you fixed me, right? Amazing Grace is kind of a mix of those two things, right?
So testimony songs have a way of what? Like telling your story?
Identifying my story.
The humanity journey.
My story was resolved by God. Whereas a worship song is God's God.
Right.
Wow, we're going to worship you because you're God. A praise song is God, you do good things and that you're powerful, you can do anything, you make the way. And then spiritual songs are going to be those things that either are talking about biblical things, Father Abraham had many sons, right? So it's going to be that. It's just a biblical idea, biblical literacy kind of songs, or they're testimony songs saying this was my life and this is what God did in my life, right? My life is only because of him. And so I think it's important, and Paul highlights those three. You see all of those in the book of Psalms along with confession, right? That's the other one that's not mentioned that Paul mentions, but David also confesses sin in there. And so those would be maybe the four major areas. And we all tend to we tend to gravitate, if we're not careful, towards look what God did for me, or I'm trusting God to do good things for me. But before we ever get to the praise side, I think we should spend more time in the worship side. God's God, and I'm not. He's just right. And this is what David is doing in this one. There's not a lot of praise in here. There's not a lot of testimony in here. It's just, God, you're God, and you're worth worshiping because of who you are.
Yeah, and by the way, can you name a song off the top of your head, whether current or super old, that sticks out in your mind as a true worship song that just says, God, you're God?
Yeah. Man, I'm put on the spot there. I bet our listeners could.
Yeah. I just thought that maybe, back
I think I remember the Phillips, Craig and Dean worship song, You Are God Alone.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that one back in the day? Yeah. That was probably, 15 years ago, 20 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the one that's been in my mind ever since we've been reading this thing. But a current worship song, there are many. There are many that go there.
Yeah.
As opposed to the praise songs are,
remember the song by Chris
You
Tomlin?
Are So Good.
Remember Chris Tomlin, You Are Amazing God?
Yeah.
Like that one. When he says, the author of creation and
how
things
great
like
is
that.
our God?
How great is our God? Yeah. These are the types of songs, right?
Yeah.
Just talking about how God is great.
Right.
God is God.
Right. Then praise songs are, man, you take good care of me. right? So your God is worship. You take good care of me, praise, what you provide, everything I need. And then the testimony stuff is you've changed me, right? This is how you've changed me, or biblical literacy kind of stuff.
Yeah. So the praise songs could be that praise is the water that my enemy's drowning.
Yeah.
So
what song is that? That's an elevation song.
It's an elevation song. Yeah. So I brought that
Make
up.
fun of
I brought
some
that up to
lyrics.
poke fun because sometimes there are lyrics that just come out of the blue every once in a while.
Yeah.
That you look and go, what?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's a biblical literacy.
Yeah.
It's a teaching moment.
Yeah.
Right. To be able to come back and go, hey, by the way, that's referencing when the Egyptians drowned.
Right.
So the Israelites passed through on dry land, and then the Red Sea flooded out the Egyptians.
But that has nothing to do with praise, though.
Well, praising the fact that God delivered me.
Okay.
That's what that.
That's what it's supposed to mean.
Yeah.
But it says praise is
Right.
the water that my enemy's drowning.
I know. Sometimes they're lyrics.
Symbolic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's I give a reason to praise the Lord,
Right.
oh my soul.
Right.
That's what that song is.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's interesting. So wow, what a great little course there. What do I want to say? Master class on worship, which is pretty cool.
And so having balance in those areas, right? I've been talking with the worship leaders a little bit at our church here about, hey, okay, we're doing really good in this area. What about some of these other things? Let's not miss them. And different, songwriters and different people that everybody else is listening to, they put out their songs, what's going on in their life at the time. But it's important for us to also remember, hey, we have to have our own song, and we have to have our own ability to sing a new song to the Lord, and what's missing. So if everything lately has been praise, then hey, we should get back to worship. Or what about a testimony song? Or what about a biblical literacy type of a song? Martin Luther, when he was kicking off the Reformation, during his ministry, he wrote over 5,000 songs. Did you know that?
No, I did not know.
5,000 songs. He wrote more songs than he did pages on doctrine.
Really?
Right? Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And
I did not know that at all.
And he felt like music was the best conveyance for teaching doctrine to his people. So if you think of Almighty Fortress is our God, you think of the doctrine that is in that song. He's really building it out of the book of Psalms, the concept, but there's so much doctrine. And he would take popular tunes from the taverns. He would take popular tunes that everybody knew, and he would put theological depth to it to teach people the words of God. And it's amazing how much of our doctrine is developed by songs. And we have to be careful if we start wondering, why do our children only think that God is our good luck charm and he provides everything we want? Might be because we're only singing praise songs.
Right.
We need more breadth to our worship.
That's great.
Because you remember a song way longer than you remember a message.
Right. I agree with that. Okay. Well, hey, that is our time. And what a great unpacking of Psalm chapter 24. And there's so many different types of Psalms. And I'm sure we'll be touching on many more of them along the life of David as we continue our series, Now That David is King, as we walk through the Old Testament. Hopefully we'll see you Monday on the Bible Guys.